Hi there, and welcome to your Moving Your Team from Chaos to Consistency webinar. Before we properly kick off, I just wanted to pop in here and say hello, so you can see who it is that's talking to you and get a feel for who I am. If that's the right expression. Yeah, I hope you've got a pen and paper to take notes, that you have a drink of your choice. We're going to be around 75 minutes, so just over the hour for the content, and then any questions and answers. To be honest, the last one went on for 90 minutes, but that was just because there were a number of questions. So that's no problem for me if it's not a problem for you. So if you're all set, I will switch me off and share my screen, and then we'll get on with the session. Hope you enjoy it, and more importantly, get value from it. So I'm recording the screen. Get rid of that. Here we go. So as we said, this is all about moving your team from chaos to consistency. Just switch, get rid of me off the screen there. So really, consistency it's business nirvana, isn't it? It's what everybody is looking for. Consistently good performance. You want your results to be consistent. You want your cash flow to be consistent in the business, because that keeps everything well oiled and moving forward. I mean, consistency really is the king. I know that's a bit of a cliche, but it is. It's absolutely essential. And if you've got a team in your business, you want them to perform to consistently high standards. If you have managers, it's also important that they are consistent too, consistent in the way they work with your team, consistent in the way they communicate, and so on. Is your business chaotic would be a question. And I know that's all relative, because, if you're a control freak, then maybe your business feels chaotic. If you're more laid back, then maybe it's just a bit disorganized and slightly inefficient. But to be honest, those words don't work so well as a title. So we're moving from chaos to consistency. What we're going to cover over the next 60 minutes or so is the three things that all employees want from their managers. The strategies that McDonald's use to get every task done the right way, how to give non-confrontational feedback. And unfortunately with feedback, it always seems to feel confrontational. It always, in our minds, often it's like we are going to have a confrontation rather than we're just giving feedback. The three essentials for building a high-performing team, and what the McFreedom Managers Development Program is all about. So in other words, what's the next step? If you really want for either you to be developed as a manager or for your managers to be developed as managers, then how can we help? So just before we get into the meat of the session, if you pardon the pun from a McDonald's person, can you just in the chat box just tell me whether you are a new manager, an owner manager, as in you own a business, and you're a business owner and you also manage people, or if you are an experienced manager who's just here to brush up on your skills. So owner manager, new manager, or experienced manager. If you could just put that in the chat box, that'd be great. Everybody being very shy this morning. I'm not sure whether oh yeah. So we have a couple of new managers, one owner manager, and several people who've been managing for a while. Brushing up, yeah, great. I'm not sure if everybody can see everybody else's comments on the chat box there. Mel saying, I'm a manager for a digital agency, have line managed in the past and taking on new responsibilities, here to take on more line management. here to take on more line management. I can't read this morning, Mel, sorry. More line management responsibility. Great stuff. Fairly new manager, struggling to get people to do what I want them to do. Yeah, that's pretty much the norm, to be honest. So the other thing that we're going to cover at the end is a bit of a Q&A. We've had a couple of questions sent in advance, but also if you've got any questions, specific to either somebody you're working with at the moment or that you've always struggled with, then we'll get those answered at the end. There will be a little bit of request for interaction as we're going along, but there won't be any opportunity really for questions until the end. So write down any question that you think of, so that you make sure you get it answered at the end of the session. Okay, so what I want to kick off with really is to talk about mindset, your mindset around managing people. How is your mindset around even having employees? What's your starting point? Are you always positive about people you hire, or do you tend to be a little bit cynical? If you're not responsible for hiring, and you've got a boss who does all of the hiring, are you always just a little bit not sure about this one, bit worried that they're not going to start in the way that you want them to start. They're not going to be, they're not going to fit into the team. What's your starting point? Are you waiting for them to let you down? Or are you thinking, great, this is a new person, I'm going to really make the best of them? So is managing something that you love or something that you hate? So just take a minute to think about that answer and write one word in the chat box that sums up your mindset around people. Just one word. What would it be? Is it love? Is it hate? Is it fear? What is it that comes to mind? Yeah. Fear, got positive, that's great. Love it, but don't feel very good. That's more than one word, but happy to accept that one. Okay, so there are, people feel very differently about managing, and we just, it's something that we have to do. We go into a lot of businesses where people are accidental managers. They have been plucked out of the team because they're really good at what they do and have been put into a management position without really being given the skills to know how to manage. So often a fear comes from a lack of confidence around having the right skills, knowing exactly how to get the best out of people. And you might, if you've ever come across me online, you might have heard me talking about a conversation that I had on Facebook with a guy who said that we all needed to accept that all employees are basically lazy. They're just wanting to do as little as they possibly can. They just want to come in, leave their brain at the door, do the bare minimum, and then go home. They are stupid, unable to follow even the simplest of instructions. They're just basically idiots who, as I said, leave their brain at the door, don't bring it to work, or if they even have a brain, which in his opinion they didn't seem to have. And they're devious, not to be trusted in any way. And when I think about it now, just somebody saying that people are lazy, stupid, and devious, that every employee, I mean, he was absolutely sweeping in his judgment of every employee, lazy, stupid, and devious. And it just makes my blood boil, to be honest, for the people who have to work for him. If that's his starting point with every employee, how can he ever hope to achieve consistency, let alone build any sort of a team and high performing team, just not a chance. It really, really made me mad. So obviously, I don't want you to have that mindset. I don't want you to think of people management and have HR, legal, trouble, pain, all those really negative connotations around people management. I don't want you to have those at the front of your mind. I want you to think of all the positives that come to mind when you hire people. I want you to think of having fun with them. I want you to think of creating more time for you. I want you to visualize you managing them effectively, achieving bigger and better results, having a really positive atmosphere where everybody really is working as one to achieve a really efficient operation and have really happy customers who keep coming back again and again and again because of the great service that they get from people who are happy doing their job. We've all had experiences of people who are very clearly not happy in their role. Now, some of that might be their mindset, but there is that wonderful research that we quoted in the advert for this session that says that I can never remember the percentage when I come to this, but it's something like 42% of people who leave a job leave because of a bad boss. 42%. All of those unhappy people that you see in roles, in whether it's in retail or you call somebody up and they're on a call center, whatever it might be, those unhappy people, is it because they have a bad boss? How happy are the people who work for you? And is it just because you're not treating them in a particular way? Are they really happy? In which case, fabulous, good for you. So I really do want you to start out with the belief that people are like dolphins. They're smart, they're bright, they're helpful, they're really caring, and they're fun. They play well with the rest of the team, and they'll always try their hardest for you. And if you have the mindset in believing in them and show them that you believe in them, you'll be absolutely amazed what you get back. And really, to highlight that, I want to tell you a little story about somebody I used to work with. We're going to call her Anna. That's not her real name, but I always, it's like protecting their identity, whatever it is. Anyway, so Anna worked in head office, McDonald's head office down in East Finchley, and she'd been hired to work in staff restaurant. She was really belligerent, moody, just a pain to be around. She was really happy to be rude to the staff she was serving. She was happy to stand around chatting while people waited at the tills to be served. She just, she clearly, from everything that was, from the way she acted, just didn't care. So imagine everybody's surprise when she was moved into the switchboard and reception team, instead of being moved out of the front door. And you'll notice that in businesses. Maybe you've even seen it in the business that you work in, that people often move a problem rather than dealing with it, rather than giving the feedback that somebody needs to either dramatically improve their performance or part company with them. They'll move them and make them somebody else's problem, or move them into a back room somewhere where they can't affect anybody in the team or your customers. So, perhaps in this case, it was considered that upsetting the odd visitor was less of a danger than upsetting senior managers on a daily basis. Maybe that was it. But one day I became her manager. Oh, deep joy. I immediately began to performance manager because everything I'd witnessed was that, really Anna just needed to go. So I began to performance manager, and that meant that I had an awful lot of direct one-to-one communication with her. And I began to learn things about her that I hadn't known before from a distance. She'd come from a really poor background. not in itself an excuse for poor behaviour, but she had come from a poor background. She left school with no qualifications. She never, she had a real chip on her shoulder because she never felt that she'd been given a fair crack of any whip. And the real big one was that she was the sole provider for her 3 children. And really clear from everything she said that she was a really loving, loyal mother to them. She really wanted the best for them. She wanted to provide them with the best that she could. I also learned that she loved working for McDonald's. That McDonald's were the first organisation to give her any sort of a chance. And really importantly, that she'd never really had any feedback before about her behaviour, which clearly was was an issue with the management that she'd had before in McDonald's and elsewhere. So it made me think twice about the road I was taking her down, and I began to look for other options that might bring out the best in her. To talk to her about where she saw her strengths. And I ended up moving her into the post room. So it was out of the firing line of visitors and senior staff, but it was into a role where she could showcase her organisational skills, because I figured that, she was a mother of 3 with a full-time job. She clearly had organisational skills. And any mothers or fathers on this call with children will appreciate that is the truth. You have to be organised to manage the 2 together. And what a change. Not quite overnight, but over time, she made the post room her domain. She really took ownership for it and began to enjoy her job. And she set the standard for 2 juniors that I put with her to follow, which was a real eye-opener for me. She really took charge. The post was never late. She went out of her way to get important letters out, even if it meant running to the post office herself or staying. And I know that she stayed up to 3 hours sometimes if either somebody wanted to get something urgent out from inside the building or they were waiting for some delivery to come in. She would wait at her station until they were sorted. It was that level of ownership. And it wasn't that she was getting overtime. It wasn't that she was being, really thanked or rewarded for this change in attitude. It was just her own professional standards and a determination that nothing was going to be missed on her watch. And what a joy to watch her in action. Just a real pleasure to see how she blossomed, and a constant reminder to me of what's possible with your people when you treat them like adults, give them regular and honest feedback. And when you look for the spark that's going to light them up and get the best out of them. So that's really what I want for you. I want you to be able to feel that way about your people. I want you to be able to see what spark is going to light up your team, light up potentially individuals in your team who at the moment are maybe a problem. One of the questions when I'm working with a private client, one of the questions I'll always ask them is, if you had the chance, how many of your team would you rehire tomorrow? How many of your team would you rehire tomorrow if you could start with a clean slate? And there's nearly always one person who, oh, crikey, well, oh, I wouldn't keep Bob. No, Bob's always been a problem, right from day one, always been a problem. Is there a Bob in your team? And have they had a fair crack of the whip? Are they working to their strengths? Is there something that actually could turn them round? Or do you need to part company with them? Too many businesses hang on to team members because, it's just Bob. It's just the way he is. Well, you can't have an A+ high-performing team if you have a Bob in it, because you're only as strong as your weakest link. But anyway, I'm digressing. I'm digressing. So anyway, so who am I and why should you be listening to me about this stuff? Well, I mentioned McDonald's there. I had a long career with McDonald's. I worked with them for 27 years, and I worked in 4 different areas of the business, from restaurants into training into customer services, and when I left, I was responsible for a sort of directorate of 4 departments. But the most important thing that you need to know about me is that every year of those 27, I was working with teams, developing team members, hiring, training, developing, and building a high-performing team who would push me out of the way, who would replace me. And that's what McDonald's teaches you to do. McDonald's teaches you to develop the systems that are going to run your area of the business well, in your instance, run your business well, and then develop the people to run the systems, to run those systems effectively, and then get out of their way. Trust them to do it well. Give them feedback, absolutely, but get out of their way. And obviously, I developed over the course of a long time. I developed a number of really high-performing teams, and I replaced myself over and over, which allowed me to move onwards and upwards, to take on exciting projects. It was the way things got done at McDonald's, and I'm very grateful for the opportunity I had. McDonald's is also brilliant at developing managers. At every stage of your career, you're being given development and skills that allow you to get better and better and better at management. And it's those skills, obviously a few of those skills in this 1-hour session that I'm sharing with you today. It's partly mindset and it's partly your skill set. So that's quite enough about me. And if you have any questions, please feel free to answer them at the end of the session. So what are the 3 things that all employees want from their boss? Well, first of all, they want communication. Secondly, they want to be respected and valued as an individual. And thirdly, they want to know what's expected of them and be trusted to get on with it. So what do these look like in practice? Well, communication is vital in every relationship. It's vital in your personal life, obviously. How many divorces are put down to just a breakdown in communication? It's absolutely vital, and it's so important in business too. Yeah, I've not been into a single business where communication hasn't been, again, like a divorce, hasn't been cited as a problem, if not the biggest problem. And when you're talking about communication, really think of it as a team. Think of it like sports teams, how they communicate. At the start of every season, everyone is sold into the big goal. Is it survival in the league that you're in? Is it promotion out of it? Is it to get so many points? Everybody knows where they're headed, and then day to day, week to week, month to month, they're told how they're progressing, how they're doing. Are we headed in the right direction, or are we struggling? I'm going to talk about feedback in a little while, and that is a big part of your communication. But think about just your normal day-to-day. Netflix talk about adult to adult communication, and that really covers so much. Do you treat your people like they're adults? Do you talk to them like they're adults, or do you talk to them like children? Do you check absolutely every detail of what they do, or do you trust them that they know how to do their job and they're getting on and doing it well? How much checking do you do? Because the communication between a manager or a leader and their employees is absolutely crucial to building a high-performing team. And you see here in the picture, there's obviously a team huddle. And we talk a lot about using just a daily team huddle for 5 minutes, 10 minutes at the start of every day, setting the tone for the day, agreeing what the target's going to be for the day, raising the level of energy, and even maybe midday, if there's been a problem, and say you've lost a client, or there's been a customer complaint or whatever, and the energy's dropped in the team, getting the team back together and going, come on, right, let's not waste the rest of the day thinking about that. Let's learn from it and move on, raising the energy. And if you think of yourself as a sports team manager, whether you're into sports or not, it really is, it's an energetic, motivating, positive atmosphere that you build as a team manager. It's never a passive situation. It's always active. It's always moving things forward. So just think about your communication with the people you manage. How would they rate you for your level of communication? How would they rate your level of communication? If 1 is you never speak to them, and 10 is, oh my life, you're just a micromanager, you never leave them alone. No, sorry, 1 is that. 10 is you're great at communicating and you keep their energy up and you keep them positive. So 10 is a positive. I'm going to sound like a negative there. 10 is a positive and 1 is you're not very good at communication. Just give me a feel for where you're at with that. Remember, this is how your team would rate you if I was asking them, not how you would rate yourself. A couple of 6s, a 7, excellent. Ooh, got a 5 there. Okay, great. So we're somewhere in the middle there. There's definitely improvement. I would hate it if you'd all said 10 because then there's nowhere for you to go. So good stuff. Well done. Well done on those sort of middle of the road numbers. At least you're not below 5. That would be a bit of a disaster. Good on you. So then the second thing that employees want, as we saw, was to be respected and valued. Now, when you hire, you're hiring a heart and mind, not just a body. So you need to be showing respect to each of the individuals as individuals. They're not slaves. They're real people with their own passions, their own goals. Think of Anna with her 3 children. She's working because she wants something better for them, almost certainly. So what do you do to show your team that you value them at work? How do you show your appreciation for what they do? How do you show that you respect them? Do you treat them as individuals and as adults? Again, give yourself a mark out of 10 for how they would rate you for how you respect and value them as individuals. 1 being the negative and 10 being you are fabulous at showing how much you respect and value them. And it's not what you're feeling, it's what they experience from you. Great. So it's higher scores there, you see. The respect and value. If people are feeling that level of respect from you, then they are going to respond in kind. There's a excuse me. There's a guy business that we're working with. One of the managers, he'd said to his boss, the boss had asked him, so what can I do to help you? He said, can you tell the team to respect me? Well, no, you can't. You can't tell anybody to respect somebody. It's a feeling that they have for you, and it's based on the way you are with them. So based on the way you work with them, whether you treat them as an adult, whether you are open and honest with them. All of those things come together in terms of respect and value. So well done on those scores. They're great. Obviously still room for improvement, but they're great. So then the third thing that all employees want is to know their role, what's expected of them, and trusted to do it well. And I talk a lot about pit stop teams, and there's a really good reason for that, because they are a fabulous example of individuals who know exactly what their role is in the team. Are they the left wheel man, or the front right wheel man, or the fuel man? What is their role? They know it. They know it really clearly, and they're trained to do it to a really high standard. Then they're trusted to get on with it. At the end of the day, they're given feedback every single day. In fact, these guys practice, and I used to work with somebody who worked with Red Bull, and he said that every day at 10 o'clock, the pit stop guys would have a run through, and they'd time it. They'd look to improve it every single time, and then they'd be given feedback, shown how they could improve it, or told what a fabulous job that they did. And these guys are completely invested in the success of the team. If the driver wins, they win. If the driver loses, they lose. Okay, so the driver gets all the kudos, but they absolutely take ownership for that win or that loss. Could you say that about your team, about every individual? Are your people trusted and really trusted? Or do you always feel you've just got to check up on them, just got to make sure that they've done it right? Do they know exactly what's expected of them? Quite often people perform badly because they've never been shown how to perform well. Do your people know exactly what's expected of them? So again, what score would they give you here? 1 to 10, what score would they give you here? Do they know their role, and do they feel trusted to get on with it? 6, 6.5. Hedging your bets there, Mel. 6.5. 5. It's the trust. It is the trust issue. It is the trust. It's quite often, even if you believe that people know their role, it's the just giving them enough trust to allow them to take ownership for it. So there's some work to do there, but the first part of putting something right is to recognize that it needs a bit of work. So we're taking the first step in pointing out what needs doing, what needs improving on. Okay, so how do McDonald's do it? How do McDonald's go about giving employees what they need? And how do they achieve that level of consistency? Because if there's one thing, love McDonald's or hate them, and pretty much everybody has an opinion about them, they are recognized as being incredibly consistent and reliable. Because, you know that if you see the golden arches, you know what you're going to get. You know how it's going to be served to you. You know what it's going to look like. There's a real, quite often people say, oh, they've gone to a foreign country, particularly us Brits, go to a foreign country and we look for something that we can eat that's reliable. And people see the golden arches and they go, right, at least I know what I'm getting there. Excuse me. Sorry, have a sip of water. So how do they get that? How do they have young managers managing shifts in multi-million-pound restaurants? And when I think back to my time, and I can still remember it. When I think back to my time as a manager starting out, I was 21 when I was put in charge of my first, I think it was a couple of £1 million at the time, restaurant, and I had 2 18-year-old floor managers supporting me. And when I went on a holiday, those 18-year-olds were running the business. Me as a 21-year-old, I was running the business. So how do they achieve that? How do they get employees to work to consistently high standards? Excuse me, sorry, frog in my throat. Well, what they do is they start by making everything simple, logical, and repeatable. It's a great book that got that as its title. I highly recommend it. Which is, of course, my book. But no, seriously, simple, logical, and repeatable. Making things as simple as possible. Not simplistic, not oversimplifying, but making things as simple as they possibly can be. Making them logical so that I could walk in as a third party into your business and I could follow how to do something based on it being logical. You need to ask why at least 5 times to get to the most logical way of doing something. Quite often, when we're working with a business, we'll be looking at their customer journey or whatever. So why do you do it that way? Why do you have that particular step? Why do you check it 3 times before it gets to the customer? So simple, logical, and then of course repeatable, because you want these things to be done in exactly the same way over and over and over again. And there is only one way to cook French fries at McDonald's. There isn't Jill's way and Jennifer's way and Bill's way. There is one way to cook French fries, and it's the McDonald's way. There's one way to cook hamburgers. There's one way to do the management report for the week. There's one way to accept a delivery. There's even one way to sneeze, which I would show you if I was on camera, but I'm not. And what the result of that is that a new kid joins the older person joins the team, and say they are taught to cook French fries. They're taught the right way. They're given a checklist that shows exactly how it works, the step-by-step guide, so they can take it away and look at it. But they are trained to do it the right way. And within a couple of days, with a little bit of feedback, when the person training them has seen them not doing it quite right, within a couple of days, that person is completely taking ownership for their fry station, keeping it clean, making sure that nobody on the tills is going to be waiting for fries on their shift, really taking a great pride in the job. It's theirs. For the length of their shift, it's theirs. And, they're going to do it to the best of their ability. Wouldn't it be great to have that in your business? One way, the right way to do everything in your business. It doesn't matter whether it's a complex business. A lot of people say, oh yeah, but that's McDonald's. That's, we're talking about preparing food. No, we're not. We're talking about every department within McDonald's is systemized in the same way. They all have their systems for getting their element of the business done, no matter how technical. As I said, monthly accounts, delivering a PR, onboarding a supplier, introducing a new product, launching a new product. It's just that there is one way and everybody is trained to follow it. Is there one way in your business? Is there one right way to do every activity? And if there's not, that's your starting point. In terms of how you do that, the tools that you use to do that, really, it's as simple as having a how-to. And there are 3 versions of it on your screen at the moment. So the how-to document on the left, that's similar to the sort of document that I used at McDonald's. They called it an observation checklist, but actually it's a how-to. Gives you the step-by-step for, in this case, completing a monthly stock order. And then importantly, and this is really important with a how-to, it tells the person why you do it the way you do it. That you've worked out that this is the best way and why it's the best way. Because, you will get people, and actually it's really good when you get fresh eyes coming into the business, to just allow them to question, to just allow them to say, oh, but have you thought of? Because maybe you haven't, and maybe it was the right way to do something, but it's actually, there's a better way, a slightly better way now, because of maybe technology moving forward or whatever. So step-by-step guide with a why we do it this way. Of course, there is the marked up document at the right, the big arrows, do this, follow this. The most common, and I would almost guarantee that 100% of you will use this on a regular basis, is the how-to video. How many times have you gone to Google to look at how to do something? How to, I don't know, change the filter on a Hoover washing machine, a hot point washing machine, or how to, what's she doing? Squeeze a grapefruit effectively. How to put a shelf up on the wall. They are how-to videos, and just using the word how. These are all systems, by the way. There's this big myth that systems are on top of your day job. This is your day job. It's creating the one right way to do something. If you have an online business, then almost everything you do will be online and therefore recordable. You know, with if you use Macs, a Mac, then it's ScreenFlow. If you use a PC, then the software called Camtasia. You just talk to the screen as you're doing a task, and guess what? You've created a system. And if you were to stick a stake in the ground today and create a how-to document or video or marked up image, if you were to do one of those a week, every week for the rest of the year, you'd have, well, what week are we in now? You wouldn't have 52 because we've obviously missed 1 week. You'd have 51 systems in your business. 51 if you just did one a week from now till the end of the year. So how about if you don't just do them yourself, but get the people in your team who are already the best at in specific activities to create one for you, and then just have you check it off. Yep, that's, oh, actually, can you go back and put this bit in because I think this is crucial. You missed that out. Or when you do the video, can you make sure that you say why we do it, and make sure that they know why they do it this way? Because if they've always done it that way, and it's the right way, they might not actually even appreciate why it's the best way. So how-tos are really, really crucial, and they are systems in themselves. They are systems. So do have a think about that. That's how McDonald's do it. That's how McDonald's have always done it, and it works. You know, there's a reason that they have scaled to 38,500 restaurants and counting. It's because of simple things like this. So that's how you're going to make everything simple, logical, and repeatable. That's how you're going to train your team. But in themselves, those are not going to be enough. You still have to give feedback. Regular, consistent, and honest feedback. How do you feel about giving feedback? Let's just get a feel for your thoughts around giving feedback. How do you feel about it? What is it? Does it bring you out in a rash? Do you love giving feedback? Do you love giving good feedback but actually hate giving anything that's negative? How do you feel about it? Yeah, Harriet's saying they're apprehensive, trying to make a joke out of it, and that's a really common one. Making a joke out of it, it's not then taken in the way it's meant to be taken. It's dismissed, maybe even as you not having the bottle to give proper feedback. So yeah, we'll cover how to give the feedback in a second. Other thoughts and feelings about feedback? Love it. Oh, excellent. Yeah, don't mind giving feedback, but I struggle with negative. That is so common. And I talked about Brits and feedback a while ago. It is so common. And the restaurant example is the usual one, isn't it? You go to a restaurant, you have a horrible meal, the waitress comes over and says, "Everything okay?" "Yeah, fine." Well, it's clearly not fine, but you're vowing you'll never come back here again, you'll never darken the doors, when actually it would be so much better just to take the manager to one side and give them some honest feedback. Maybe the service was terrible, maybe the food was awful, maybe you were putting a table with the air conditioning vent streaming cold air down your back. Feedback is really, really important for people to improve. And again, it's a mindset thing. If you look at feedback as confrontation, then that's how it will be, because you will go into it feeling like, oh my God, this is confrontation. How are they going to react? Whereas if you look at it as actually, on one of the previous sessions, somebody said that they've always thought of it as growth feedback. And just putting the word growth in front of feedback actually does make a difference to your mindset around it. What you're looking to do with feedback is to inspire improved performance. You want the person that you're talking to do things better the next time. And when we're looking at feedback, there are 4 different types: appreciative, constructive, negative, and ignore or no feedback at all. And the bottom 2, we really just remove them from our thoughts as ways of giving feedback. Ignoring somebody, or as Harriet said, trying to make a joke of it, is it's almost worse than giving negative feedback. The number of businesses I've gone into and said, so, how do you know that you're doing a good job? Well, if nobody shouted at me this week, then I must be doing okay. And another guy, actually, on the last session that we did, he said, well, they trust me, they know that I'm not happy with them. And it's like, well, yeah, because you don't speak to them, because you give them filthy looks. Well, how do they know, and how do they know what to do better next time? So the feedback that I really want you to focus on and to use every single day going forward are appreciative and constructive. Appreciative and constructive feedback. So let's have a look at those. Excuse me. And there's a model that we were always taught to use in McDonald's. It's called the EEC model. Very difficult to say with my accent, but I always give it a go. So for appreciative feedback, the first E stands for event, second E for effect, and the C for continue. So the event is always what's actually happened to cause you to want to give feedback. Is it, what's your reason for giving feedback? Is it the way somebody has answered the phone? Is it that they've produced a brilliant report for you? Is it they treated a customer really well and you're delighted with them? Because appreciative feedback is obviously all about showing appreciation. It's showing that you're really happy with the job they've done. So event is, why are you giving them the feedback at all? Effect is then, what effect did what the person did have on you, on the business, or on the customer? And then the C is for them. In the case of appreciative feedback, you want them to continue to work in this way. So, for example, somebody answering the phone. You answered the phone really well, Gail. You made the customer feel so welcome. Using your name to make it personal, great. And I could almost hear the smile in your voice. You did really well. Great job. Keep it up. Just keep doing exactly that. That was brilliant. So event, Gail answered the phone. Effect, the customer felt welcomed, and continue, keep it up. And you give appreciative feedback in front of as many people as you possibly can. You want the person receiving the feedback to feel good about themselves. You want them to be inspired to carry on doing that good thing. And also you want the people around them in the team to see what good looks like, to understand that what Kate did, or Gail did in this case, what they did was the right way. Brilliant. When it comes to constructive feedback, and you're going to give constructive feedback when you see something that isn't up to standard. When you've trained somebody in how to do something, you know that they've had the training, so they know how to do something the right way, the one right way, and you've seen them cutting a corner maybe, or not doing it quite to the standard expected, then you'll give constructive feedback, not negative. Negative is, don't you get out of the way, I'll do it myself. We've all seen and maybe experienced a bit of that. This is constructive. It's about being constructive. It's about inspiring improved performance. So the event and the effect are the same as they were with appreciative. So your event is the reason that you're giving the feedback in the first place, what you've seen, what you've witnessed. The effect is the effect it's had on you, the business, the customer, the rest of the team. The C becomes change. What do you want them to do differently to meet the required standard? So for our answering the telephone example, Gail, I've just listened to you answering the phone. You answered it within 3 rings, which is great, but remember to make the customer feel welcomed. And you need to do that, you need to introduce yourself like this. Good morning, Marianne Page Limited, Gail speaking. Let's hear that smile in your voice. Great little tip, put a mirror on your desk by your phone, and every time you pick up that phone, just look at yourself in the mirror and smile. That is actually an example that we used to use in the customer services department, and it works. We want the customer to do business with us, so we need to make them feel really welcome. Now, how do you imagine a person receiving that sort of feedback would feel? How do you think they'd want to improve their performance next time? And do they know how to improve their performance? Yes, they do. They know that they need to smile when they pick up the phone. They know the words that they need to say when they pick up the phone. They know why that's important, because you're wanting the customer to feel special. So Constructive is always focused on the bit of the performance that you want the person to change. Crucially, with constructive feedback, where do you want to give it? Well, it's not in front of the whole team. It's to one side. It's quietly. It's away from the rest of the team, because this is one-to-one with them. You want them to be inspired to improve their performance, not walking away from you or sitting at their desk, going red in the face, thinking, just thinking about you and how much they hate you. You want them to be thinking about, right, that's what I know now, what I need to do. Get it. And when you're thinking about your feedback, and I did say this is the sort of feedback you should be using every single day. Never walk past something that you know is not right. Give immediate feedback, as close to the event as possible. As soon as you can, if it's constructive feedback, as soon as you can get the person taken to one side, do it, because it's that sort of recency effect. They'll remember exactly what they did. They won't be, oh no, I didn't do that. It gives you the opportunity to inspire them. And to be honest, if you make it an everyday thing, they would never react to you giving them constructive feedback in that way anyway, because feedback is just the way we do business around here. How good would that be if everybody just expected to be given feedback and saw it as a positive, as a real way of improving the business? So that's how you give feedback that makes it non-confrontational. Give it a go. Give it a go with your other half. Try it out there. There are always opportunities to do that, as we know. So great. That's feedback. And again, if you've got any questions, jot them down now, so you make sure you answer them at the end of the session. So then, what are the 3 essentials for a high-performing team? We're really hiring to your values. Now, you may not be responsible for hiring within your business, but you'll absolutely have a role to play in the individual's probation period. You'll be able to see whether they fit into the team, whether their values match the team's values. You'll be able to help train them. You'll be able to give feedback. Even if they're not directly in your team, that doesn't mean that you can't give them feedback if you see something that's not right, or doesn't fit in with the values of the business. And so you will have a role to play in the probation. So hiring to values, training the individual to follow the one right way to do every task, training every individual to follow the one right way to do every task. You've got that. If you've got that, that's when people start to take ownership. That's when they really start to gel as a team. That's when you can happily walk away, go away for a day or two to a meeting and know that everything's still going to be done the right way. And the other way you're going to feel that level of trust is that you're going to give feedback regularly, consistently, and honestly. Adult to adult feedback. Really treating people as individuals and inspiring them to that improved performance. So you get those three essentials right, and you really start to build a high-performing team that always works the right way, that never misses anything. Obviously there are other things you need, like checklists. You need to build up your how-tos. You need to make sure that the training's done. But if you get these three essentials right, you've got the real makings of a high-performing team. And remember that within your business, as a manager in your business, you are a performance coach, and your role is to get the best out of everyone. Again, think of the sports team coach. They are a strategist for the day-to-day, for the day-to-day workflow, or they're the strategist for the match, giving the team tactics. In a business, strategist for the workflow of the team for the day or the week. They're responsible for keeping the team focused, keeping the energy right, and they're also mentor. And this within your business, this is a role that that if you don't already, you need to accept and take on. You are the mentor, developing the person as well as the employee. At McDonald's, we were always taught, train the employee, develop the individual. Really help the individual to grow as a person. And when you do that, again, it just creates such loyalty. The average manager within McDonald's now has something like 25 years service. That's the average manager. What is, obviously your businesses are younger than McDonald's, but that's the level of loyalty you want to aim for. I think it was Richard Branson said, train your people so that they can move on, but treat them so well that they don't want to. Wouldn't that be great? Great role to have, and a really great role to get good at. So how do you get good at it? Well, obviously you follow what we've talked about already in the session. And if you want to progress and become even better as a manager, then definitely consider the McFreedom Managers Development Program. I said at the beginning I was going to talk you through this, and it's worth, even if it's not right for you right now, it's worth just understanding the sort of elements that go into becoming a really good manager. So I'll just take a few minutes to take you through this. It's about developing a strong second line in the business, so that when the business owner goes away, if the business owner is not you, when they go away, there's they have a complete level of comfort that if you are that second line, that you've got this. They don't need to worry. Go away, switch off your laptop. Don't call me every day. I've got this. If you are an owner manager or the business owner, then it is having that level of trust that you can do it. Having managers who help you build your high performing team and then really lead it effectively when you're not there. It's a structured 6-month program aimed at developing the manager's mindset and skill set, and to give the tools that they need to develop your high-performing team. So it's for you if you've created managers but you haven't developed them, or if you are a manager who's been thrust into a management role but your boss hasn't had the time to develop you because they're so busy running the business. Good people keep leaving you don't know why. Your team work. They're a good team, they're working well, but just not to the standard that you expect. You might be losing sleep over, people issues that they are often trivial. In fact, they're very often trivial. You want to delegate, but you don't trust your manager, or if you are the manager, you don't feel that you're being trusted. Why is that? And you're either worrying how your business is run when you're away, or again, if you're the manager who's being left, you're getting sick of your boss calling in every day to check up on you. So that's really who it's for. What does it look like? Well, it looks like this. It's who are you and why should I follow you? Looking at the model of the best leader. What are the leaders that you admire have in common? And also learning from the worst. I always learned as much from bad bosses as really good ones. And thinking about that mindset, how you can develop a really positive mindset, And something that we call the shadow of the leader. How big is the shadow that you cast over your team, and how positive is it? And then developing something called your Big Mac, which I won't get into now because that'd be a whole other hour. Then how to train your team, getting everybody in your team to follow that one right way to do everything in your business. I talked about the probation period, what it looks like, how to manage it, how to get the best from it, how to make sure that at the end of it you're making the right decision, and then developing your training system, the training system within your business, how to manage that customer experience. The customer's journey through your business is so crucial, and there are a number of moments of truth that are real make or break in their mind as to whether to carry on working with you or go with somebody else. So how do you help your customer achieve their goals? And how do you help your team to help the customer to achieve their goals? We touched on feedback in a sort of 5-10 minute run through there, but really getting into the power of feedback, really getting into ways of making it really stick within your business. Not just we talked there about the ongoing feedback, the informal ongoing feedback, but thinking about how you set up your performance management system to give more formal feedback that actually, again, has consequences, has targets, has measurements, and so on. Module 5 is all about routines and rhythm, how to get routines in place that are going to give you a real rhythm in your business, real rhythm of continuous improvement, keep everything moving forward towards your goals. Having a communication system that keeps everybody involved and inspired, making communication a real strength in your business rather than a weakness. And then finally, with Module 6, we talk about how to replace yourself, how to free your time by delegating and empowering the team below you to push you onwards and upwards, to free your time to work on more exciting projects, whatever it might be. And of course, if you have a boss, and rather than being the ultimate boss, how to manage upwards, how to convince, how to have those crucial conversations where you know that introducing something, for example, might be a win for the business. How do you get that? How do you deliver that to your boss in a way that they say, yeah, of course, go with it. So that's really what we cover. How does it work? Well, it's not on there, but the first thing we do is actually set 3 objectives, or ask, if you have a boss, ask you to agree 3 objectives with your manager for the training program. Excuse me, so that you know what you're aiming to achieve, the skills that you're looking to develop over the course of the 6 months. And then it's our job at this end to help you to deliver on those 3 key objectives. Depending on what it is that either your boss and you recognise that you need to improve in, or you yourself recognise that you need to improve in, we'll help you to get there. That's the aim. And it works through a live online group training session each month for the 6 months. 90 minutes of training, training and mentoring, really, because it'd be very interactive. In addition to that, there's a 60-minute live online group Q&A every month. To support you on a sort of day-to-day, week-to-week basis, you're given access to the McFreedom Managers Club, which is run through a private Facebook. And within the club, there'll also be additional guest sessions from experts. For example, it might be an HR person showing you how to set up your HR files effectively, or whatever. Also, within that group, you get this ongoing peer support from the others on the program, and the support from our team at this end. So, any questions that you've got, if you've got a particular issue that you just want an answer to, then you put it in the group, and we'll get back to you as quickly as you can. I already mentioned the club and expert training sessions, and in addition to that, we've already created some how-to guides and templates for some of the more regular stuff that you deal with every day. how to manage probation is actually one of them. How to prepare for an effective performance review, and so on. And we've already got those how-to guides and templates that you'll just be able to download, personalise to your business, and get on and use. As my wonderful client Jeff said, you can see what he says there. So, what's the investment? Well, $19.50 plus VAT for the full course, which is less than £75 a week to train each manager. And it is the sort of course that, because of the objectives that are set at the start and end of it, it's important that individuals go through it individually, rather than getting a sort of a team login, if you like, and then it's important that you individually have the access to the coaching and the goal setting that's going to go on over the course of the 6 months. But $19.50 plus VAT for 6 months full course. However, that would be fabulous on its own, wouldn't it? $19.50. Oh, what a snip. However, as a reward for acting swiftly, and it's got the sign me up today. To be honest, you've got until the 15th to take advantage of this discount, if you call it that. Well, it is a discount. But your reward for being here on the session and listening to me is you get a £500 discount. £500, it's huge. Nearly a quarter, nearly 25% off. So your price then becomes $14.50 plus. That's not £14.50. I did actually. I said to my PA, it's $14.50, and she put it in as £14.50, which was quite funny. Wouldn't have been if anybody had signed up at that price, because I would have had to honour it. But $1,450 plus VAT, so it's only £55 a week to train a manager. An absolute snip. So really, I want you to have a good think about that, because the real advantage of the 6 month program is that you have a lot of access to me outside of the sessions, outside of the live online session training and the monthly Q&As, through the Facebook group. So questions that you want answering, or problems that you're having with individual team members, you stick them in the group, and to be honest, if I can't answer it, probably one of your peers has had a similar problem. We'll be able to answer it for you. So the start date for the next course is the 22nd of January, and then, as you see, the sessions, the training sessions, are one a month for the next 6 months, and we have them at 8 o'clock in the morning and 6 o'clock in the evening every other month, because we really don't want to disrupt your working day as far as we can. We want to avoid that, but also we recognise that some people have the opportunity in the morning to attend sessions, some in the evening. All of the sessions will be recorded. Ideally, we want you to be live at each of them, because that's where you get the most value. That's where you're able to interact and get the most value. And quite often with recordings, I know from my own experience, it's difficult then to find the time to watch the recording. But yeah, that's we have them at 8 o'clock in the morning, 6 o'clock in the evening. And the months that we have the training session at 8 o'clock in the morning, we have the Q&A at 6 o'clock in the evening. So ideally, you'll always have, ideally you'll be at all of them, but you at least have one opportunity a month to get to chat to me and one of the team. So that's where we're at. So what are your next steps? Well, great if you absolutely know what's right for you. Sign up now. Click the link that's going to appear in your chat box any second, and go with it. We'll send you your attendance bonus anyway, just for being here. And then a week before the start, we're going to send you, if you're the manager coming on it, if it's that you have managers that you're putting on it, we'll send each of them joining details, a little pre-work for the program, and access to the McFreedom Managers Club private Facebook group. We also will have that have a sheet that we ask you to complete and send through to us that contains your 3 objectives for the program. And ideally, they will be, if you're an owner manager, you'll obviously agree them with yourself. If you work for somebody, you'll agree them with your boss before sending them through to us, because halfway through the program, we'll then have a conversation with them to talk through how you're doing and how we feel they could help you back in the workplace. So quite a lot to take in there. When we finish this session, obviously we've recorded it, so we'll send this through to you so that you've got all of that. You haven't been really trying to scribble everything down, but we'll send you the recording with your attendance bonus, so that you've got the wherewithal to make a decision. And obviously we'd love to have you on board, because this is something that I feel really passionately about. I love developing managers within businesses. It's something I've always enjoyed. So it'd be great to have you on board. So, are there any questions from those of you who are on this call? I have a question for somebody who couldn't make the call but wanted me to answer their question for the recording. So I'll just wait and see if there are any from the call before going into that. Oh, okay. Well, the question that came from so somebody sent it through and said I can't make the session, was that they have an individual who has been made a manager, and even though they've had a little bit of development, they're actually not taking on the role of management. They're continuing to do their old job. They're sort of sticking with their comfort zone, if you like. And the first question I would ask there is it a capacity issue? Have the other jobs been taken off them? Do they know exactly what is expected of them? And have they been set targets? So, for example, if they're still doing their old job, it means that they're either struggling because they've got to do their old job and manage. If you're not expecting them to do that, have you set them a target of delegating the tasks that they're currently finding comfort in, delegating those tasks to an individual within their new team? That would really be the first thing that I would do. The second thing, from a management point of view, I would give them daily feedback. I would have a one-to-one huddle with them every day and say, right, what are you going to do today? What management tasks are you going to do today? What's your plan for this morning? What's your plan for this afternoon? And I know that is a little bit of micromanaging, but until you get them into the habit and the habit of doing what you want them to do, and until you give them the confidence to do what you want them to do, then they are going to struggle. The other thing, obviously, that I would do is send them on the Managers Development Program, because we will be able to work with both you and them on getting them to the place that you need them to be for the sake of the business. So I hope that that's answered your question. And if there are no more questions, it's like there aren't. Great. Then I will say thank you very much for joining me today. Really hope that you join the program and that I get to meet you properly on that. And
in the meantime, I'll just pop into the chat box to say thank you very much, and we'll see you soon. Put those things into practice that you've learned today. Definitely give feedback. Go and practice that. Go and try that out now. Give some constructive feedback and a bit of appreciative feedback today, and hopefully speak soon. Cheers then. Thanks a lot. Bye. Let's go.